Hey everybody, this is sort of a build video, I guess you'd call it. Today I'm working on my Strat build. This guitar, saw this thing on eBay, it was like 100 bucks, it was real pretty. I was like, wow, that's cool. I'd love to get that thing and mod the heck out of it, because I hadn't, I'd built like one of everything, or I'm in the process of doing that, but I'd never done a Strat. So, I'd done Super Strats, and I'd done ES335s, and I'd done Steinberg Spirit, Steinberg Freedom, and other stuff. But I did Telly, but I hadn't done a Strat. Since then, I've also picked up uh, Gibson LP kit and a PRS kit. So, be adding those to the one at each collection eventually. On this one here, I shot like 3 hours of video of me working on the harp guitar the other day, but the stuff just takes forever to upload, so I'm not just gonna hook up the camera and let it roll and work on guitars and talk about guitars while I work, because it just takes too long to upload that kind of stuff. So I think what I'll do is more like some of the one or two how-tos that I've actually done, where I you know, describe or quickly demonstrate what I'm going to do, and then pause and do it, and come back on. So that'll keep the videos shorter and keep the download and upload times down, which is really when bandwidth is an issue. I'd rather be watching videos than watching the thing upload, burning on my bandwidth on that. So anyway, so this thing here, where it's at, is I got the guitar, I decided to refinish the neck. Ended up a whole lot darker red than I had originally planned for. But, yeah, and like I said, I'm working on it right now, so it's not necessarily really clean or anything. But it did turn out quite nice. Like I said, this thing is very dirty. This is not at all cleaned up at all. But yeah, it's a nice deep dark wine red, I guess you'd call it, for the neck. And then the idea was it was a really nice cherry burst, so I got the clear pick guard for it, and got all silver hardware for it, locking tuners. I'm going to be putting a lock nut on it, and got the 6 roller saddles. And I decided to actually get a set of name brand matching pickup set for this thing, trying to be a little fancier. And they weren't real expensive or anything. I think the whole set was, maybe $60 or something. But the brand is Omnipure, I believe they're called. So you can check them out. And they're, just a set of matched hot rails. Is basically what it is. And that's by and large it. Silver hardware for everything, for all the knobs and stuff. The original one had mini pots, and this pick guard uses regular standard CTS sized pots, so I had to get CTS pots for it, and I'll be installing those too. So yeah, right now it's like I just oiled down the fretboard, and these days I'm using 90 viscosity mineral oil, USP grade, and I find that the foam from one of these cheap foam brushes works really, really good for putting this stuff on. I just put a few drops along the board and smear it around, and make sure to get right up to the edge at all the frets, and come back with a tissue and wipe around any overrun. So, and then I just let it soak. If it's like a first application, it'll soak it in within like 30 minutes. If it's like on the 4th or 5th application, it could take an hour. But and you'd be amazed how much oil you can put on these things, and it'll take it all in. especially if you just leave it overnight. So yeah, at this point I'm probably putting 3, 4, 5 applications of mineral oil on a neck in order to get it nicely oiled up, something like that. So, and that's just putting it on and waiting for it to soak in, and then put on another application, and that'll soak in too, and a third. I really, honestly, I've gone as high as like maybe 5 or 6 applications on some necks, and I have yet to the point where I've gotten anything fully saturated. I haven't even really hit the point where they're even partly saturated. Obviously, partly saturated. They definitely, you can tell they've taken on a lot of oil, but yeah, I think part of it is the fact that this is only 90 viscosity, so it's relatively thin. It's about the viscosity of a cheap pancake syrup. So there you go. But anyway, yeah, it's all oiled up. So get this out of the way. And the next step is I'm going to remove the trees. And I've already got the locking tuners on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the lock nut. So, yeah, got my screwdriver here. And just go in like that. And take it out. Come here. Yeah, so. Yeah, you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and remove these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so they're out, and as you can see, there's a little bit of a mark left on the clear coat where they were at, just a little bit. So what I can do there is, once the guitar's all done and it's time to clean it up, probably just before I put the strings on, for stuff like the headstock, I can hit it with like maybe some 1500 and then the soft rubbing compound, and I'll probably clean it up okay, and then wax. And yeah, I should be left with just a very, very small hole right there and right there. And I was thinking about it, I could like try to go for some, just put a small drop of like CA glue in each one, and then try to find a matching paint, or mix up a matching paint from a couple different sprays. You spray some on a piece of paper and spray the other one, mix the two together with a toothpick, and then take a little bit of paint on the end of the toothpick and hit the two spots in order to try to color match. But this is awfully dark, so you could also just come in with like a Sharpie, or maybe not even bother at all, because you'd be picking up the hues already in the stain in the wood, and so it would, just having a more or less clear repair might even be okay. These are so small, you might even be able to just fill them by taking some spray or lacquer and spraying it, like on a toothpick, and just dabbing them to fill them that way. Or brush lacquer, just applying some lacquer, either spray or brush, with a toothpick, and then just waiting for it to dry a couple times, and I'd probably fill those in pretty nicely. And once again, being a clear repair, it would pick up the hue of the underlying wood, and they'd be probably wouldn't be that noticeable. In the end, I'm probably just going to sand it down, smooth it out, and leave them there. So, yeah, the next step is the lock nut, and it looks like I've already gotten started on it. Seem to have a couple brass shims going here in order to set the slot height. So, let me go dig for some parts, and I'll be back. Okay, I found the parts bag for the Strat build. Let's see what's in it. First things first, try to keep the bench clean always. And when you take something off the guitar, put it in a Ziploc so you don't lose it. And yeah, trying to work on guitars and hold a phone and shoot video all at once is a bit of a pain. Okay, so, alright, that stuff's taken care of, that's nice and safe. Let's see what we got in the bag here. we got a strap. Figured that would go well with this body, so yeah, there you go. We got a set of strap locks in a cool kind of a red thing. I actually got this for the telly, and this is like a dark chrome and not silver is the color on these things. So I decided not to use it on the telly, because the telly is everything silver. What do we have? Knobs. There's the lock nut and the retainer string. CTS pots. I gotta be careful how I hold this phone. Apparently the speaker, or yeah, the mic for it, is on the right hand side, or the right edge. Of course, a real stupid place to put it, because most of the world is right-handed, and if you're trying to hold the phone one right-handed and shoot in landscape view, which is how people watch stuff on a screen these days usually, then yeah, you're more likely to cover up a mic if it's on the right side. So, bad designer, no Twinkie. Set of screws for the pick guard, and all the extra trim springs. Not exactly sure what that's doing out. It fell out. That's what it's doing out. Okay, so yeah, there's the spring. Alright, so yeah, this is the stuff to be installed. I'm going to be putting the lock nut on, putting the retainer bar on, and coming on down this way, I'll be putting in the pots and wiring all this up, and then attaching the pick guard, and I believe that's about everything for this. I think I was planning on leaving that open. So yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much everything for this. And then just clean it up real good. So, let me put all this stuff out of the way and get this lock nut open, and I'll be back. Okay, got the lock nut here, and in order to keep things reasonable, I think I'm going to try to limit these videos to around 15 minutes apiece, so I've only got like 2 minutes left here. Got the lock nut. Now, I think the reason why all this stuff is here is because this might have already had a roller installed on it, a roller nut. In which case, the nut line is really going to be back here and not up here. So, I'm going to be checking that with the StewMac fret positioning gauge, and then in order to get the height, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can go with your fret rocker, and if the camera will get in there, go with the fret rocker and then just get it up to the slot in order to see how things line up, and get down there and look at it and see how it looks. That's one way to go about it. You can also use like a fret guard, fret pulling guard, because it's narrow enough to actually get in the slot, and then you can use it like a fret rocker in order to figure out whether this is too high or too low, whether you need more shim, whether you need less shim, whether you actually need to sand or file that down a little bit, what's going on. So yeah, this thing definitely wants to slide off, that's one thing for sure. Now when you're putting these on, also you want to make sure that you get the correct break angle. The top on these nuts actually slopes back a little bit, and you want to make sure that you don't have the thing tilted so far forward that you don't get enough of a brake angle on the front edge, which would lead to some buzz issues. So yeah, basically you want to try to keep the bottom of it, if we can get the camera to do it here, you want the bottom of it to be parallel to the bottom of the fingerboard, and that's more or less going to get you an okay angle. And so a lot of times on a lot of guitars, if you look like this one here, you see there's a gap at the back, which means you might need more shim back there. But on the other hand, if you look up here, it's these two screws up here are what hold it down, and they're at the front, or on the front half of the nut. So really nothing back here is really required to attach this thing. Typically on something like this, what I would do is I'd put like a drop of CA glue on each side just to kind of hold it in place while I got it exactly where I wanted it, and then I would hit it up with a center punch and get my holes started, and come in with a hand drill and a 1/16 bit and drill my pilot holes, and then take my screws, dip them in wax, and in they go, and I'm done. Because the screws alone will keep it from tilting back, and really all you need to do is hold the thing solidly in place so that it doesn't shift and move under, and you're going to have string pressure holding it down, so not that big a deal. You can go with the bolts through the back. I've heard some folks say that over time the bolts in the back tend to do a better job than the screws through the front, so I don't know. Don't know. You try it and find out, I guess. Me personally, I don't really like the whole bolts in the back look. You're removing a lot of material, you know, because the stuff is all like pocket screw installation type, recessed. So yeah, you're removing material, and it's probably overkill. You know, if this thing after 5 or 10 years of use starts getting a little sloppy, just take the strings off, take this thing off, shim the holes a little bit, put it all back together. It'll be good for another 10 years. That's the way I'd approach it, at least. So, okay, well, yeah, I'm over 15 minutes, so that's going to do it for this first little bit of working on this thing. And the next one, I'll go ahead and get started on putting this nut and retainer bar on. So, until then, everybody, have a good one.